Morning. Filming in the workshop today. Probably don't look my best. A little grubby. Wanted to talk a little bit about maybe a little bit of a follow-up on my last video, because I realized it kind of went to a place lots of people probably wouldn't want to agree with. And I just wanted to give a little bit of a second part to that. So, and a shout out to my mother who watched my videos and told me I shouldn't swear so much. So, try to do my best to clean up language. And today we're in the workshop because my house is unavailable and it's pouring rain and it's winter outside. And Bo is not going to be in this video because he doesn't really like the shop very much. And if he comes in here, he'd just be throwing a ball around and it's not space for that. Anyway, so enough about the dog and where I am and what's going on. So basically, my last video I was talking about the point of life and why we feel a need. You know, we cling to some ideas in reincarnation theory about soul contracts and soul families and old souls and different there's a lot of evidence to support that, and that we recycle ourselves over and over and over again into this reality in order to discover the truth of who we are. And I had an issue with that, and I think I explained what my point was there, that there's evidence to suggest that that belief is false. So, and I don't necessarily really want that to be true, and I don't know whether it's true, so, you know, you can agree with me or disagree, but the other side of it is, of course, that we do have soul contracts, and we do have soul families, and when you die, you do go to this place. All the NDE people come back and they say, oh, we went to this place and there was, you know, the Pavilion of Knowledge and the Akashic Records, and, you know, my ancestors were there and everyone was 30 years old and you could do whatever you want, and there was all peace, love, and happiness and butterflies and unicorns. And then we sat down and we started doing some life planning with our higher selves and you know, some unfinished business from our last lifetime, or some trauma we needed to finally deal with. And then I found, you know, a family to incarnate in and be born into, and I go back to live another life. And in that, when you go through that doorway back into mortality, you lose all knowledge of why you're here. I think that's actually would be to keep you from going insane, because if you knew why you were here and you knew all of that stuff, you wouldn't be able to function here. So a lot of that story makes sense to me and seems to have a lot of evidence to suggest it. But that means all the evidence for the other possibility that this is a zoo and we're being controlled by some nefarious aliens, lizard people, you know, that becomes a lot harder to believe if you think about this born, live, learn lessons, incur massive amounts of extra karma to correct in your next lifetime, and then in your next lifetime you go try to undo all of the karmic mistakes from all your previous lifetimes, and you just cycle over and over and over and over again. And that's bothered me. And yet there's plenty of evidence to say that that's 100% true. You got to think about a bunch of souls in heaven, we'll call it heaven, or the other side, sitting around smoking a big fatty and going like, wow, man, I want to go back to Earth and do these crazy shit, man. I'm going to be one of those guys who skydives in the squirrel suit and miss. And then all my friends will be really sad for years, and they'll erect a memorial to my, you know, that sounds like a good time. I'm going to do that. You write it out. Go do it. I don't think it's like that. That's just for funny. Anyhow, so I don't know. The jury's out. The jury's out on what happens. You run into another problem with this whole explanation when you get into temporal dynamics and the fact that, you know, maybe on the other side time doesn't exist. Or in etheric realms, like the angelic realm, Not sure what that is. Time doesn't exist. They can see all time and all causality and all probabilities, and all we're living in is a quantum probability field of karmic residual energy. That's actually pretty good. Quantum field, a quantum probability field of residual karmic energy. Quantum probability field of residual karmic energy is consciousness and human existence. Well, you heard it here first. That's I like that, and so this is an interesting segue here, because this is how it happens for me. I sit and I talk through things, and I talk about different stuff. I talk to myself, which, the jury's out on whether or not that's healthy or normal. And this is just me talking at the wall, really. I mean, I just decided to record it, so if anybody ever cares what I thought, there'd at least be some record of it, because writing a book seems to not happen. Anyway, wave of the future, do everything electronically. Anyhow, that's sort of how it works for me. I talk through things, and then little insights pop into my head, little moments where your higher self maybe is speaking. But that's a connection that I've tried to build and promote and develop, that connection with my higher self. And at this point in the journey, like, I feel that presence in my life all day, every day. So there's no doubt in my mind. You know what I mean? Like, I don't go, ooh, I don't know whether that's true or not, or where's the proof, or I can't explain it any other way, so that's what I stick to, is that my higher self is here, and we got a really good dialogue going. Angels are here. We have a stress relationship right now. I'm trying to work through it. They're trying to help me work through it. That didn't stop them from saving my life the other day, driving down the highway. So, kudos to my angel. I just want to shout out to him. Thank you. I do love you, and it's one of those things that I'm tasked with understanding things, and you're tasked with the patience of letting me. We all have a place. So that's what I wanted to follow up on for my video last time. Less swearing from my mother, and the look at the other side of karma and life cycles, and a reality where there isn't lizard people in charge. But I'll tell you where that came from, where it really went from being something that sounded crazy and stupid to something that seemed to have some traction. I watch another podcasty thing called the Y Files, and it's excellent. I highly recommend it. That's a plug for him. He does fantastic quality videos, and a little bit corny, but the content for anybody who's interested in woo-woo or alternate theories, or what could be considered conspiracy theory content, the dude covers it really, really well. Anyhow, so that's my plug for them. But anyways, he did a video on remote viewing. And so I look at remote viewing and psychic abilities and tarot card reading and tea leaf reading and mental channeling. I got a friend who reads the Akashic records, and he's and then another friend a couple other friends who are fantastically psychic and can tap into other people's, what's going on in their head and their spirit really well. So I feel all of that is a form of telepathy. Right now, that's where I'm at. Like all of those enigmas, all of those sensory perceptive abilities are all aspects of telepathy. And if you want to talk to your higher self or your guardian angels or your deceased father, it's all telepathy. It's all it is. And there's lots of evidence to suggest it's through your pineal gland in your brain is an antenna for communicating telepathically. And if you train yourself and learn how to do it, you can. Even though if you go down the other rabbit hole, there's evidence to suggest we were turned off deliberately. That innate ability was there. And maybe that's what we're looking at for the next step, the next evolution. Lots of people are talking about that right now, where the next evolution of humanity is, where the next evolution of consciousness. Here we are. We're like, woo, we're warriors of the new world order of religiousness and consciousness and connection to source and divinity. I'll tell you that all of that psychic connectivity and telepathic threads, the different aspects of telepathy, it's how do I describe this? I see things. I see the world around me, and my eyes register all of that imagery and all that light, and my brain interprets it, and I hear things, and I taste things, and I smell things. I have equilibrium. I exist in a gravitational environment, and I am covered with nerve cells that sense my space. It is totally realistic to me that there's senses that you can have that extend way beyond that limitation. And we may not even have words for it. But if you wanted to throw it all in a bucket called telepathy, I think that would do for me for the time being. Anyhow, so you take, oh yeah, back to the Y files. Sorry, I got distracted there. And that's, I'm prone, because none of this is scripted. This is just off the cuff. So in the Y files, they did this episode on remote viewing, and there was a really important program the CIA operated in the US, and the Chinese had a similar program, the Russians had a similar program. They were all spying on each other using remote viewing. And remote viewing is a form of out-of-body experience or astral traveling, where your consciousness is in two places at the same time, because you're awake, and people that can do that when they're awake, they were sought out and developed and trained by various governments to spy on other countries, because they realized that if you were there in spirit, you could look at things without being detected. And anyway, so there's lots of depth. Like I said, it's a really deep rabbit hole. You could go down what they discovered and what they found out, and where that took them. And they say they stopped the program, but you know damn well they're still doing it, because it's a perfect cover. I mean, you use the whole quantum entanglement of instantaneous communication from multiple locations using a spiritual conduit to accomplish the task. Like, it's not fringe to think on those terms anymore. That's not, crazy conspiracy to think about that connectivity being used, being weaponized, I guess, is for lack of a better word, that we're going to use psychic abilities or telepathic abilities to source information. Anyway, so in the Y-Files episode, there's a guy that was like, he's famous for being really, really good at this. And one day they gave him coordinates that were not on the Earth. And that's how it worked. And then he'd go into a bit of a trance and he'd tell him what he saw. And some of the coordinates were on Mars, and there was stuff going on at Mars that he reported back, both humans and aliens interacting with one another on a Mars base type colony. That's freaky. But when he was on the moon, he went to the moon, and in a particular location on the moon, and reportedly, and this is a hard thing. You have to imagine, first of all, that you could split your soul and be conscious in two places at the same time. And I don't have any way to argue that that's not possible. It's certainly within the realm of possibilities in my mind. So you're mostly out of it here, but you're there, and your body's here, and your body soul is here, and it's happily clicking along while you're off looking at what's going on the moon, and somehow able to zero in on a location that they wanted them to look at. And he went, and there was some sort of structure that was very well concealed, and there was a window, and we'll call it a window. I don't know. And he looked in the window, and there was an alien there. It was a very clear physical alien being. And he was trying to observe what the alien was doing inside the structure in a habitat type space. And the alien turned around and looked at him and could see him. And he skedaddled because he felt threatened. Now, out of everything else that was covered in all those episodes and different stuff, that's the quintessential moment that scares the living shit out of me. Sorry, Mom. You're a physical being, and you can sense the spirit of another living being, physical being, watching, meddling, and react in a way that's threatening. When I watch that episode and then you dig into it a little bit more, that's where my whole theory of aliens and the zoo and harvesting our soul energy or keeping us in this karmic never-ending cycle where we don't know who we are when we come back, and now everyone else is here to see us escape this prison and finally break free of our own free will, even though they're manipulating us constantly and telling us things constantly and constantly feeding us information, trying to get us to do what they want us to do. It's still free will, because we could choose to stick our head in the sand or eat a bullet or whatever the person wanted to do. Just ignore it, maybe go back to church and praise Jesus or something. And oh, that's a different topic. And I don't mean to be a dick, but you know, Jesus and I have a really good relationship, and I'm happy with where we are with that. So, yeah, I just don't have a lot of use for most of religion. Anyhow, that's about it. I just thought I'd clarify some of those points and identify the fact that it's getting real, and I think very soon I'm going to find out what the truth is. I think I'm going to find out what the true, and not by dying, but I think it's going to be revealed. I think we're all waking up, and I think there's that energy in the universe that's trying to discover something new, and we're it. Right now, we're it in a massive, unimaginably infinite universe. We're it. That's hard to wrap your brain around, but I think if we escape this zoo, they're putting up a lot of resistance, or the world is churning, that change, the truth being revealed, the conspiracies, the darkness, the evil, the lies and deceit. I think it's all coming out, and I think that's a good thing. And if you're watching this, I'm hoping you're part of the solution, awakening, that look at things objectively. Oh, and one other thing I just thought I'd add as an addendum at the very end. I went to university for a science degree. I have a diploma in mechanical engineering. I'm a very logical, scientific person. My sisters are scientists and accountants, and where I am, for the record, is trying to. I don't want to ruin the magic, because magic's really popular in my life, but I have all these experiences in my life that don't have a place to fit unless I consider a much bigger reality than what maybe people have been used to in the past. Anyhow, so that's me. Not trying to overdo it. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Peace.